Hello and welcome back to Celi-Yap.
Celi-Yap. I'm Kelsey.
And I'm Doran.
And today we're going to be talking about college experiences and living with roommates, which is definitely something that you definitely have an abnormal experience with when you go to college with an autoimmune disease, especially celiac disease. Doran, how did you feel that celiac disease affected going into college?
I think that at first I was like a little nervous just because like I was going to be relying on all these people to feed me with the dining halls because I wouldn't have a kitchen. And I feel like the dining halls are a whole thing especially just because like that's where you spend most of your social time. At least that's where I spent most of my social time with my friends, is we would just, go eat a meal in the dining hall and just stay there for so long just talking. But like I would always be like maybe 15 minutes longer than them because I'd be going in the pantry and microwaving something, or I'd be like looking through my options and figuring out, whereas they would just go up to some random station and be like, I want that, and just take it and go sit down. So like that was definitely a little different. I mean, but we could go into that. Like, do you agree with this or?
100%, yeah. There were a couple stations in my dining hall that I did feel like they did a good job of like avoiding cross-contamination or cross-contact, because they had things separate and we had a lot of different stations, so that kept certain things separate. But there was a gluten-free like pantry area, and I definitely spent a lot of time there. Or the normal panini area, which I don't know why, but our dining hall, everyone was making paninis. And everyone was in the normal panini area, and all those panini presses were on all day. But in the gluten-free section, they didn't leave it on because there weren't as many people using the panini press. So I had to wait like 5 minutes to let the panini press like heat up before cooking my food. So definitely like it takes longer. I was really grateful to have a larger dining hall on my campus, and the salad bar was kept allergen free, so that really helped because I could always just like go through that if I needed something quick. But also I don't always want salads, so definitely certain struggles there, and it definitely gets more repetitive because we have fewer options.
Yeah, I mean,
So that's something I felt a lot.
completely. I think we had a specific gluten-free station in some of our dining halls, and I only trusted that. I mean, I think it's possible I could have gone to some other stations and like really like delved into like, okay, how do you make this? How do you do that? But they're like rushed, especially during their lunch rush. Like I just with it, there's too much risk there, and I didn't want to risk it. So pretty much stayed to the one station in the pantry. There were some dining halls that didn't even have a pantry, or if they did have a pantry, it was top every allergen ever. And then I was like, okay, I mean, like I get why they do that, but I don't want to. I don't want to. I mean, I can eat nuts. I can eat this. Like, why am I being subjected to that as well? But with the options thing, that is extremely true because that meant that I was kind of stuck with whatever meal the gluten-free station was making, and if I didn't like that, then I had to go to the pantry. And a lot of, if not most of the times, my pantry had some weird stuff that I had like never heard of, and I was like, okay, like maybe I'll try something new. But like sometimes it just sucked because like sometimes I just wanted a pizza or I just wanted a burger, which is like what all my other friends were doing. And meanwhile I go to mine and it's something I've never heard about, or it has pig, which I don't eat either. And then I'm like, okay, well now I'm forced to go to the pantry, which also was its own plethora of issues as well. I mean, on the plus side, it was kind of funny. I swiped in, I went in, washed my hands, like everything was really nice about it, and it was a glass windows and doors and everything, so everyone could see me in there. And so all my friends would walk by and take a photo of me in my gluten-free cage, and there's lots of photos of me going "Gah!" at the door, which is lots of fun. But there were issues with that as well because they wouldn't restock some of the good stuff in there. Like there's like certain like microwavable meals that were like popular, certain bagels and cream cheese and spreads that were just more popular as well, and they wouldn't keep it fully restocked all the time. And I remember there was a week where I think pretty much up to a week where I was going, they ran out of everything pretty much, and so every single meal I was having was plain bagel with nothing else. They didn't have any cream cheese anymore. They didn't have any like microwavable meals. Like that was all they had. And I was a freshman. I was too shy to say anything about it, but I was complaining to my parents because I was tired of not getting enough food. And so my dad was annoyed and called up the school. He was like, we're paying blah 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 for blah 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 blah. He's like, you need to get your act together, and like, what's going on? And found out that the person whose job it was to restock was out with COVID, and they had no replacement. They had nothing to, no backup. So
Oh
so
my goodness.
that's when, so I think after that things were a little better, but I still like, I did not have a great experience at the dining hall in terms of just variety and like consistency. I think I was limited to two of the dining halls, but they were, I don't know. But sorry, I just rambled a lot.
No,
But-
totally. You mentioned a pizza and how sometimes you just wanted something normal, and I was really grateful that my dining hall did do like gluten-free pizza and gluten-free pasta,
Oh, good.
but you had to ask for it. So it just goes back to the whole thing of it taking so long. The normal people go through just like the line and they scoop their pasta, scoop their sauce, but I have to go like lean against this glass and be like, "Hi, excuse me, can I please get a gluten-free pizza or gluten-free pasta?"
Right.
It takes like 5 more minutes. Yeah, with the cream cheese thing too. Like they gave us these tiny little cream cheeses for our bagels. It's like
Yeah.
if you're not taking three, then you're not getting anything.
Yeah.
At least they did that though and didn't make us go out of the completely crummy like everybody else
Right.
cream cheese area, but I also totally agree with you about grouping in the other allergens. We had one dining hall, which it's so great that they do this. It is really great that they
Yeah.
do this, but it still has its letdowns. But they have a whole like allergy-free dining hall is a whole entire place that did
Oh.
breakfast and lunch that was like gluten-free and other allergen-free. First of all, though, sometimes I'd get nervous eating in there just because I wasn't sure how like educated the staff
Yeah.
all was about things. Like one time there was fried rice and I was just way too stressed to eat it just because I'm like, "See, sometimes there's soy sauce in that," and I was
Yeah.
stressing myself out more than I needed to be. But also I was worried about it because they're focusing on all these allergens, then mine might slip away. But at the same
Right.
time, I'd also go there and they had eggs, but there was some other like dairy related thing that they didn't have, or you get like cheesecake that doesn't have cheese or bread like wheat. It's just like
Yeah,
once
that's a good
once
point.
you erase enough allergens, you're just gonna be disappointed because it's like mac and cheese. It's like vegan and gluten-free mac and cheese. So it's mac and cheese without the mac and without the cheese. Like like it's just not the same. And also I know for you, you've had celiac disease since you were a child, but I got diagnosed halfway through college or halfway through my freshman year of college. So I was already used to going to the dining hall and trying all the different things. So, like, part of that helped
Oh.
me out a lot because I knew what the options were and I knew what I liked and I knew, like, what things were. But also, I had half of it ripped away from me halfway through, and I was like, super challenging to go through that and have to figure out what is safe and what isn't. One thing I do appreciate though is a lot of places only label like top 9 allergens, which technically, wheat is a top 9 allergen, but gluten isn't. But my dining hall labeled gluten on every single like product when you'd go up to a buffet area.
Nice.
They'd have all the allergens listed, including gluten. So that was really
Good.
helpful for me. And I definitely appreciate any institution that will label their allergens. I also I went on a trip to Mexico the other year and they had like a buffet style area and all the allergens including gluten were listed, and that just like makes such a big difference
Yeah.
to me anywhere, but especially in college because most of us don't have cars. My parents let me get the car after I got diagnosed with celiac disease because they were so scared I wasn't going to be able to eat anything. But like most college students don't have cars.
Correct.
They're not able to go somewhere else other than the dining hall. So it's so
Right.
important that like there are those options. And
Yeah.
I think it's actually insane that just somebody was out sick one day and that completely limited the experience for you and I'm sure a bunch of other people who have allergies or celiac disease.
Yeah, I think that was an issue, and we ended up. My parents were just like, just DoorDash, like just like do what you need to do. Like this is like clearly an issue, but like I think all that aside, like there were some like they made you do instructional videos and like take a little test to make sure that you had access to the pantry, like you had swipe access and stuff like that. But then again, even then, there were some weird rules that would get thrown around where, like, sometimes the swipe wouldn't work, which would be an issue. And
Yeah.
someone would have to let you in, and which they're not really supposed to do either. But, what else can you do? And then one time I remember I walked in when there was someone else in there, and one of the people who worked there was like, you can't, like, you can one at a time. And I went, what? I was like, what do you mean one at a time? Like, that's ridiculous. That means I'm gonna be waiting for like 5 minutes or 5 to 10 minutes for them to finish. Then I have to go in and spend 5 to 10 minutes, and then there's probably gonna be someone else. Like, that's kind of ridiculous, I thought. And then I found out that wasn't really rules. Clearly, there was just a lack of like understanding and amongst the people who work there as well, which kind of sucked. But
Yeah.
there were some nice employees I remember who they'd be like, "Oh, I'm making like this kind of like sandwich or whatever. Like, do you want one?" And I would be like, "Oh yeah, sure." And like that was very sweet. And they were like, "As long as you're fed," and like they'd be like sweet, but like that's not
Aw.
everyone, and that's not and so that just that can kind of suck. But I want to shift a little bit and ask you, like, while we're still on the topic of kind of freshman year, early college, that's when you were diagnosed. So you were having a lot of symptoms, I bet, before that. And how did that affect your ability to do work and do it well or on time?
Yeah, totally. Getting diagnosed freshman year of college, I definitely think was very formative to my experience with celiac disease.
Mhm.
My main symptom was fatigue, so I was super tired going to classes and stuff. I'd go to my morning class, come back to my dorm, and then take a nap, and then I'd go to my afternoon class, and a lot of things like that where I definitely was experiencing a little bit of discomfort in the day to day college life just because I was tired all the time.
Yeah.
Um, it was actually super interesting. I got diagnosed during December, but kind of right before finals of freshman year of college. So that was interesting. I had one really good professor. She taught psychology, so I mean, it kind of makes sense that she understands how we're thinking and
Hmm.
experiencing things. But she asked me, she's like, "Are you gonna be good to take this final? Like, I know you have to
Oh,
go." She had known about like my like potential celiac disease or that I had to go get my endoscopy. It was like literally during finals week, and she was like, "Are you going to be able to take this exam?" And I really appreciated somebody
yeah.
going out of their way to like understand that this is a real thing, and even the diagnosis process can be even harder than the gluten-free diet and actually living with celiac disease. It ended up all being fine. I wasn't in any debilitating pain or anything like that, like some people with celiac disease experience, but
Hmm.
it definitely made that first and honestly the rest of college, all the semesters, more challenging to an extent.
For sure.
Um, and living in the dorms, it's like your roommate's used to one thing, and then your roommate's like, "Oh, you've changed," and it's like a little bit of a shift. So things like that were definitely difficult, but the main thing was just sleeping and
Yeah.
being tired and not wanting to go out with friends, which is like so sad because that's what you want to do in college. But yeah, what about you? How did you feel? Did you think that celiac disease affected your day-to-day college experience or your ability to go to classes and complete everything you needed to?
I mean, I don't think it reflected in like the work or the grades, which is really, really good. And I'm glad about that. But I do think just my battery was definitely depleted in that first year just because I wasn't getting enough nutrients I think that I needed. And I mean, I was taking a lot of intro easy courses that semester or that year, so it wasn't too like I feel like if that had happened later when I was really, really ramping up all my activities and busyness, that would have been an issue. But because it happened
Right.
then, I don't think I like had that much of an issue. I just had to deal with it, and it
Right.
sucked. But I feel like I was able to get by, which was good.
That's super good. Do you want to talk more about moving from freshman year of college to the later years of college, moving out of the dorms and into apartments or with roommates?
Yeah.
Where do you want to start there?
I'll just jump right in. I mean, for me, thankfully at our college, you can stay on campus all 4 years, and they offer a lot of apartments style dorm housing, so you can get a kitchen. And it's kind of common, uh, but not as common if you're a sophomore. But I really needed a kitchen because I could not do another year in the dining hall. So I was looking through avenues to try and figure out that to find a way that for me to like guarantee having a kitchen. And I went through like the disability services and looked into that, and I learned that basically the only way to use my celiac to guarantee it would be if the system would work is I would tell them and they would be like, okay, sure. And then they would look for an option for me with the kitchen. And when a spot opens up, then they would ask me, hey, do you want to join this? And I could say yes or no. And if I say yes, then I am thrown into there. But that's can happen anytime throughout the year. So that's not like something that happens before the school year starts. And on top of that, I don't have really any control over where I'm thrown in. So that was a big issue for me because number one, like, what if they threw me into a place that had a kitchen but was living with like over four other people, which I don't know that how likely that would have been, but something like that, like that's still an issue for me. I can't share a kitchen with that many people, especially if they don't know celiac disease. And
Right.
the other issue too was just speaking a little more candidly about just my own sexuality and my identity. Like I did not feel as comfortable rooming with a guy necessarily. I wanted to room with a girl or one of my friends, and I had no control over that either. I couldn't make sure that I was living with a friend that I knew. They could have thrown me into a group of three other guys, which still is an issue of the amount of people. But also for me, there's also just some social issues that I face with my own other stuff that I struggle with. So on top of that, there was like multiple identity issues brewing that were kind of
Wow.
fighting. But thankfully, we figured out if I picked a roommate that was not the same gender as me, we would automatically be thrown into gender neutral housing, which you have a very higher likelihood of getting a kitchen. So I did that.
Whoa.
I know it's great. So I did that with someone who was a year older than me, who I met through. I think my mom found her mom or whatever. It was kind of crazy, but
Aww.
we met up and we hit it off. We were like great, and so we went through the process together, and we ended up securing a kitchen. And so then I stayed there the next year, and then I was old enough where I was pretty much going to get a kitchen, which was good. But it was
Yeah.
kind of a struggle to try and make sure that I was going to get a kitchen while balancing my other identities, which was really frustrating at the time. But
Totally.
yeah, I know. What about you? Because I think I remember you saying that you only have dorm style on campus. So what was the
Yeah.
situation for you?
Yeah, my freshman year, I lived in a dorm with one other roommate, and that was when I got diagnosed. And I was so lucky, her boyfriend had celiac disease. So she built in already knew what it was and how to keep me safe. So I actually had a pretty good dorm experience. And as I said
Mm-hmm.
before, there's a million things I could complain about the dining halls, but they were more of a blessing than a curse. I did have a pretty decent experience with them. So my school, you can only live in the dorms your freshman year, and there's no other like on campus housing. So I did not have any crazy experiences like you. That's a crazy struggle to go through, especially combining it with all the different things you're facing in your life.
Right.
And so I definitely think I'm super blessed that we got to live off campus wherever we wanted. It was not run by the school. There were no rules, nothing like that. And I had one friend who had made my freshman year, and we decided we were going to live together. But we actually signed our lease before I was diagnosed with celiac disease. So we already knew we were going to live together, and luckily she was amazing and super helpful. But that was a super weird thing to go through. It's like, oh,
Right.
so surprise, you already signed a lease for the entire next year with me. And also, I have new autoimmune disease and dietary restrictions that you're gonna need to take care of. Um, but I think I just consider myself so lucky and blessed that I didn't decide to live with five other girls or in a
Oh
sorority
yeah.
or something like that, because I would have already chosen my housing. You had to decide in the fall pretty much because the
Ugh,
housing would go because it was like public housing. So
yeah.
yeah, that was definitely crazy. I definitely consider myself blessed, and I have certain days or moments with living with someone else where I don't feel as comfortable as I'd like to, but like I just
Mm-hmm.
consider myself so blessed to like be with friends and
Yeah.
other women who are really supportive of me. I definitely have appreciated my roommate, and I've lived with her for 2 years now, and she has helped me through so much. So love
Mm-hmm.
her. Yeah,
Yeah.
certain pet peeves, of course, but like that's with anyone you're gonna live with. I feel that way about my parents too, even though they always mean the best. So, yeah.
Yeah. Which we could get into pet peeves as well, or we could talk
Oh,
about.
yeah.
Should we do pet peeves?
I think we should. Do you have any pet peeves about sharing a kitchen space or living with roommates?
Um, Crumbs on the counter. I've had a couple roommates over the past few semesters, so I'm gonna keep it general on it. But
Right.
there have been times where and each I've always kind of explained like, okay, just keep your space clean, clean up after yourself, and it should be don't use my stuff, and it should be fine.
Which you should be doing anyway, might
Well,
I add.
yes, I agree. And I remember this one semester I came, they actually supplied us with this towel, which was very sweet, a dish towel. I don't know why I'm like glazing them, but we had a free dish towel, and like within the first week, my roommate used it to like clean up like food, and there was like crumbs and like or like marinara sauce on it, like, and I was like, what like, and so I was like, well, obviously I'm not washing that, I'm not putting that in my laundry. And then every time I would come home, there was crumbs all over the counter, and they were not me because I do clean up after myself, and it just made it a very unsafe, like, I came home and it wasn't home, it was like and then like there was like this one week where they were gone for a trip. Oh, it was a spring break. I stayed home, and I did a deep clean of that place, and that was the best week of that semester because I felt so relaxed. Like I was able to just not worry anymore and let my guard down in the kitchen, which was something that I should be able to do of all the time, but I wasn't able to do it. So yeah, I think crumbs and not cleaning up after yourself is one of my pet peeves. What about you?
I totally feel the same way. I haven't had any crazy horror stories with that, but there was definitely some trial and error with my roommate. Late nights, you get a box of pizza, you bring it home, or you have a few friends over and maybe there's some beer involved. There's definitely been a few times where I've been like, ugh, this bothers me, and usually it just like turned out well and I just communicated it. But the crumbs thing is very overwhelming to me a lot of the time. I notice it in restaurants too, or like if somebody picks a table and I sit down and there's crumbs, it's never something anyone with celiac disease like wants to be around. And you can make the excuse that it's like, well, it's only about intestinal damage and it only matters if you eat it, but it's so stressful to be around it and to touch it. So I totally feel you on
If it
that.
gets on your napkin, and then you like, there's just so many ways that just it being on the table can get into your food somehow. Yeah.
Yes, and like I have nails and getting like I'm terrified of getting stuff like stuck under my
It's a good
nails and
point.
that type of thing. Definitely getting it stuck on me. Definitely clothing too when people wipe their hands off on their like pants or something like that. I'm like, okay, well then are you gonna get in my car? And then am I gonna put my groceries on the seat of the car that you just sat on with the pants that you wiped your hands with your crumbs on? And then it's gonna get on my food. Like there, you could go on and on and on about like the fears, which honestly you shouldn't because it's not worth it. But at some point, you do have to like set a boundary, especially with roommates, about being safe.
Yeah. I think there's one pet peeve that we can both probably agree intensely on, which is when it comes to the dishes. Um,
Yeah.
I've had a couple roommates who don't know how to do dishes. If there's something still on the dish, it's not clean. If there's grease on it, it's not clean. That should be
I
kind of obvious.
100% I 100% agree. My roommate and I came up with this really, really foolproof setup, which is I do all of the dishes. Um, and she
Should
puts
try
them
it.
away, and she does. I clean the kitchen, she cleans the bathroom, because that's just how it's gonna have to be because
Yeah.
there's just nothing else you can do.
Yeah, I'm already a control freak, and I think when it comes to I think celiac disease has only made it worse for me because it just you're constantly thinking about like, okay, like what you were talking about with like the pants and the like and the groceries and stuff like that, how it could travel. And so I think having control over that just can ease your mind sometimes, even if it's annoying to have to like do it.
You should be washing your dishes with warm, soapy water, and you should be making sure everything gets clean.
Including the outside. I feel like a lot of people think that you don't have to clean the outside. You definitely
Yes.
do because especially with cups is that I feel like the cups, the lip and the cup of and the outside of the cup is the most important thing to clean because you're probably eating a sandwich and then you grab your cup with your gloved hand. Like I like you should be cleaning the outside of everything, cleaning every surface you can multiple times until it's squeaky clean. And I feel like that annoys me more when people don't clean them well. That annoys me more than people just leaving them in the sink. That can be an issue, but I don't think that's celiac related as much. And it sucks because I know it makes me feel like I'm crazy sometimes because I'm like, am I just like over paranoid and like over like a clean freak? But I genuinely think that number one, it's kind of valid when we have celiac disease because that like it gives us a reason to like be worried about it. And number two, no, like that should be the standard, I think. So, I don't know, maybe I'm crazy.
No, I think you're right, and I think so much of it relates to the celiac disease because I used to not consider myself a very like neat or tidy person. I
Yeah.
did not keep my room clean as a kid. I had clothes on the floor, like maybe even a towel on the floor. Okay, sue me. I wasn't one of those like very type A organized people until I got diagnosed, but honestly, it's been like life changing to be somebody who's cleaner and so much more organized. It gives you so much peace of mind. And
Yeah.
I think anybody who's messy can get peace of mind over that, regardless of if you have celiac disease or not. Yeah.
For sure. I mean, I'm still not over the thing of like, sorry, I'm not really responding to what you just said, but I'm still
No,
just
go
thinking
ahead. Tell
about like,
me.
there's certain utensils in the kitchen that I don't mind we can share, like forks, knives, like even some spatulas, and like especially when like a roommate would use that. And then I'd come home and it would be cleaned, but it wouldn't because there's fully just stuff encrusted on like the lip of the spatula. It's like were you like closing your eyes and doing the dishes and going la di da di da? Like I don't get how that happens. But that's also why I keep some of my own stuff secret, not secret, but like to myself. Like I keep a pan, my big pan that's just mine. I have a toaster oven, which actually I do let toaster ovens are great because you can share those a lot easier if you just have a pan. The way I do it now is I'm the one that uses the pan. That way I have more control over it, and they just
Yes.
use it without the pan, which kind of sucks because then I have to like
Literally
flip over
same.
my bread. But whatever.
No, literally same. I do the exact same thing with my roommate. Toaster oven, I use the tray.
Yes,
She does not use the tray. Yeah,
it's
I
so
totally
so
get
good.
you on utensils and other spaces like that too. Like the fridge, I have the top shelf and she has the bottom shelf because I don't want her stuff getting on my
Yeah,
stuff. The
yeah.
pantry, she keeps all the flour on the floor and she's allowed to bake. She's allowed to do whatever. It's going to be what it's going to be. You can eat what you want to eat, but it's so nice to just keep all those crummy things on the floor. You can sweep it up later, and all my secret beautiful snacks can go right on top.
Well, it's that way with other cooking stuff like sugar and baking soda, baking powder, stuff like that. Like I have my own, and I
Right.
like, and if my friend really wants to use it, they have to understand how to be extremely careful with it because that's just an easy way to just keep it separate and like minimize that risk for me. And my friends understand that,
Yeah.
and so I keep it under my bed.
Totally. Yeah. As for like baking and stuff too, I have a KitchenAid and my roommate didn't have one. And she asked me once, she's like, "Can I use it?" And I was like, "Honestly, I trust you. You have proved yourself to me that you can clean stuff."
Right.
It definitely was harder at the beginning, but that's hard for anyone. I didn't even know how to cook for myself with celiac disease
Right.
because I had never done it before.
Yeah.
But she like totally helped clean all the nooks and crannies of everything, and she was not making like stuff where flour's exploding out of it. Like it was cookies, she was keeping it together, and definitely like you have to earn that trust for sure
For
for
sure. And
things that relate to safety. But
yeah, and while I've complained my fair share about roommates, I will say my current my one that'll be in the last senior year, I also had her in the fall. She's the go. She's really, really great. And
yes,
I think also one thing that just like goes to show why I trust her so much is she's said to me once she's been like, I feel like she's like, I think I'm more stressed and worried about you getting gluten than you are. And I was like, that's so sweet. Like, I'm sorry that that's not how it is, but that also like does reassure me because that means that she's being careful and she's not going to be absent-minded in the kitchen and just doing whatever. And I also have been friends with her since freshman year and she's stood up for me in public and stuff in certain situations with my celiac disease. So I already trust her in general. But she's very great. She's really great. So there are
that's
good
amazing.
roommates out there.
Yeah, I also think it's a really cool benefit of like college and stuff like that because usually if you go to, as long as you're not going to a teensy tiny school, you can find a friend who's going to be like that for you. And if your friends are not treating you like that, you should find some new ones who are going to do that. I just had a friend text me today because we're going on a camping trip, and she was like, hey, do you want people to cook for you? Do you want to bring your own food? How are you feeling about this? I'll make all the food gluten-free if you want it all gluten-free. Like, there are people out there that you'll find, and college is a great place to find them. So I thought that was super special.
For sure. There's also a lot of people I feel like in college that know someone with celiac disease, even if they don't. And I have a couple of friends who, when I told them, they're like, oh, my sister has that. And it's like, great. I feel like I can trust you so much more now. I mean, you still have to find out, is your sister like actually like going 100% gluten-free diet, or is she one of those people who, I mean, it's fine if you want to do that choice, it's just not good for you to that are a little more laid back. But I think like the friends in college that stand up for you and are willing to, like, in a minute, just in a pinch, help you out or reach out to you ahead of time, that's one of the best things that you will get in college when it comes to celiac disease.
Totally. I don't have anything else on the top of my mind. Any other tips, tricks, pet peeves, anything that's coming to you? Crazy stories.
I mean, no.
Yeah, me neither.
I feel like we really hit the nail on the head. And as I say, nail meet hit. Nail head meet hit.
As you always said.
Yeah, I always say that.
Yeah. Aw, love it. All right, well, college is fun, and living with roommates is scary, but I believe in you. You can figure it out.
Yeah.
And set your boundaries. Set the boundaries you feel safe with.
Speak up for yourself too. I feel like that was one thing I struggled with one of my roommates that I had was I felt like, oh, it's only going to be a couple months, like, I don't, or, oh, I didn't bring it up earlier, so now I can't bring it up now, but it's an issue. Speak up when there's an issue, and if they're a good roommate and friend, they'll understand.
Totally. Yeah. All right. Talk soon.
Yes, talk soon. See you next time on
Celi-Yap.
Celi-Yap.